All right, let's get right into it. We hear all the time that businesses need to be more green. But what does that actually mean? How do you do it in a way that isn't just for show, but really works? Well, today we're going to break down ISO 14001. Think of it as the international blueprint that turns going green from a nice idea into a serious business strategy. And that's really the heart of the matter, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to react to a new law or clean up a mess after it happens, but it's a whole other ballgame to build a system that prevents that mess from happening in the first place. So how do you stop playing catch up and actually get ahead of the curve? The real challenge for any modern business is finding that sweet spot, that perfect balance between three critical pillars: the environment, society, and the economy. This isn't about picking one over the other anymore. The goal is to build a system where all three can actually support each other and grow together. And let's be real, the pressure is mounting from every direction. You've got tougher laws coming down the pike, you've got the rising cost of wasted materials and energy, and on top of that, the public is demanding action on massive issues like climate change and biodiversity loss. It's a lot to handle. So when you're facing all that, just writing up a simple environmental policy and sticking it on the wall, well, that's not going to cut it. What you need is something much more robust. You need a system, a structured, repeatable, and always improving way to manage your impact. So what is this tool, this solution? Well, it's called an environmental management system, or EMS for short. And the global gold standard, the framework that everyone looks to, is ISO 14001. Now, what I find so smart about this is how an EMS is defined. See, it's not some separate green team off in a corner. It's a core part of the entire management system of the company. Its job is to manage how the company interacts with the environment, make sure it's following all the rules, and, this is the cool part, proactively find ways to turn those environmental risks into business opportunities. And this is absolutely crucial. This isn't just for huge multinational corporations with smokestacks. This standard was designed from the ground up to be universal. It doesn't matter if you're a tiny machine shop, a software startup, a hospital, or even a city government. This framework can be tailored to fit exactly what you do. So, how does this system actually work? What's the engine that keeps it running and getting better? It's all built on a really simple but incredibly powerful idea: the plan, do, check, act cycle. This is the engine of continual improvement. Let's break it down real quick. First, you plan what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Then, you actually do it. You put the plan into motion. Next, you check your results. Did it work? Did you get the outcome you wanted? And finally, based on what you learned, you act to make things even better. It's a loop. You just keep going through it, getting a little bit smarter and a little bit better each time. Okay, so let's pop the hood on this engine, starting with phase 1, plan. This is where you lay all the groundwork. You know, there's that old saying, you can't manage what you don't measure, and it's totally true. This is where you figure out what you need to be measuring in the first place. And to do that, you have to understand this key term, an environmental aspect. It sounds technical, but it's simple. Just think of it as any point where your organization literally touches the environment. It's the electricity you pull from the grid, the water coming out of the tap, the waste that goes in the bin, or the exhaust from your delivery vans. So in the planning stage, you map all that out. You identify every single one of those aspects. Then you figure out what laws and regulations apply to your operations. You look at risks, like what if there's a carbon tax in 5 years? But you also look for opportunities, like, hey, if we use less packaging, we could save a ton of money. And based on all that homework, you set clear, measurable goals. No vague promises, just a solid roadmap. All right, so you've got your roadmap. The plan is solid. Now it's time to actually hit the road. This is the do phase, where all that strategy gets put into action. And a huge part of doing is thinking with a life cycle perspective. ISO 14001 pushes you to look beyond your own factory gates. You have to consider the entire story of your product or service. Where do the raw materials come from? How is it made? How does it get to the customer? What happens when they use it? And crucially, what happens at the very end of its life? It's about taking responsibility for the whole journey. And of course, a plan doesn't just magically happen. The do phase is also about the practical stuff. It's making sure you have the right people and the right budget. It's training your staff so they know what to do. And it's communicating clearly across the whole organization so everyone is on the same page. Okay, so you've made the plan and you've put it into motion. But is it working? How do you actually know? Well, welcome to the check phase. This is where you look at the scoreboard. This is where the data becomes your best friend. You're tracking those key metrics against the goals you set way back in the planning stage. You're double-checking that you're meeting all your legal obligations. You run internal audits to make sure the system itself is running smoothly. And here's a big one. Top management has to sit down and review all this performance data. That ensures environmental management is treated like the core business strategy it is, not some side project. And all of that data, all of that checking, leads us right into the final step of the cycle, act. This is where you take everything you just learned and use it to get smarter. Because the ultimate goal here is something called continual improvement. The point is to never be satisfied, to never stand still. It's a commitment to always getting better. If you find something that didn't work, you fix it. But you also look for things that are working well and figure out how to make them work even better. It's about turning good into great. So after you've gone through all this, the planning, the doing, the checking, the acting, what's the big payoff? What do you get out of it? Well, it is so much more than just being able to say you're in compliance. The benefits are huge, and they touch every part of the business. Environmentally, you are actively protecting the planet. On the compliance side, you can sleep at night knowing you're meeting your legal duties. Your overall performance gets a boost. And here's the kicker, the financial benefits. By becoming more efficient, cutting waste, and using fewer resources, you find real cost savings that actually make you more competitive in the market. And that right there is the big takeaway. A well-run EMS, built on the ISO 14001 framework, completely flips the script. Environmental management stops being a line item on the expense sheet, a cost center, and becomes a powerful source of innovation, efficiency, and real strategic advantage. So, ISO 14001 gives us this incredible, flexible tool. But, the world moves fast, and its last major update was back in 2015. It really makes you wonder, what's next on the horizon? What new challenges, from the push for a circular economy to using AI to manage resources, will this system need to evolve to solve? Now that's some interesting food for thought.